So in today's session, we will focus on the row generation transformation, the purpose of row generation transformation, so how important it is. So we will focus on everything. So that's what we're going to understand in this today's session. So we'll try to cover the row generation transformation, the SQL, the transformation. Let's have a very quick recap of the row generation transformation. So row generation, the transformation is mainly called as the streamline transformation, or else it is called as the upstream transformation, because we have to use always the row generation transformation at the first of your entire mapping logic or mapping the design or whatever it is. So that's the reason why the row generation transformation. So row generation transformation, the recap would be it's called as an upstream transformation, or it is also called as a streamline transformation. So the mandatory parameter that we need to pass here is the starting number and the count. This is a very important point to consider. The row generation transformation is very important, where we are trying to generate some integer values, generation of an integer values. So we will see an example where it contains a very funny example, like tricky also. So we will see, like, we have a plant, and the plant is, we have different plants actually. So we have the plant 1, plant 2, plant 3, and each and every plant is generating some numbers, I mean to say some items. But in this particular the Excel sheet, what I'm going to consider, that particular Excel sheet doesn't have any item description. It says that I am manufacturing four items, but I am just giving the item start number. That's it. I'm not giving like how many items, or I'm not giving what is an item code for each and every item number and what the description of the item. I don't have that information. So I'm considering actually mainly two Excel sheets. So one Excel sheet will have a plant information. When I say plant information, so not complete information, only a header information or only a superficial information. So plant information means we'll have a plant name, and it will have a what you call as number of items are getting manufactured in each and every plant. And we will say that if you want to assign any particular item code to that particular item, so I'm going to have a item start code or start number. So that is information I have, very high level information. But whereas in another Excel sheet, I have something called as the plant item description, complete description. So item name, item code, so what is an item description, etc., etc. So that is what these two are the Excel sheets. So we are going to understand with the help of these two Excel sheets. So how actually the row generation transformation can be defined. So after that, we will see that we will be defining three global variables here. 2 or 3 global variables. The purpose of these global variables is to pass the values across the data flows. And so we will see a little bit about the global variables. So but complete information regarding the global variables, we will see the topic called variables and parameters. And these 3 global variables we are going to define. One is for the plant, and the second is for item the start number, and the third one is the item number, item count, or whatever it is. These are the three variables that I'm going to define. Customer says that, or like the design says that at runtime I would be able to pick the plant. So let us take an example that if I pick a plant P1 on the fly, I mean to say running the job. Today I may pick P1. Maybe tomorrow all my end user reporting can be based on the plant P2, maybe plant P3, and etc. etc. Okay, what customer says that if the BODS job, while running the BODS job, if I have selected P1, then I have to get all the information related to the plant. What is the plant? Plant P1 in the target table. What I'm expecting here is in the plant P1 and the number of items in the plant P1. I mean to say plant P1. And the item is, let us take an example that 1000. And what is the description of the plant? What is the description of an item? So all the information that I would like to have. So that is a part of a requirement. So on the fly, I would like to select the plant, and I would like to get only the respective information of that particular plant. What are the item description, what is the item number we have in that particular plant. So all the information that I would like to have. So that is the basic understanding. So regarding this, what we are going to understand in this particular data flow or workflow. So for that, so I'm going to define one more object. So object that I'm going to define in this particular. So obviously you know that we are going to define the data flows, and we are also going to introduce one more that is called the script object within the BODS. So data flows, anyway you know that. So the script object that I'm going to introduce, with the script object we have to follow some scripting language also. The script language. So you might have heard about BODS is having something called as BODS, the scripting language. So we will see that what is the syntax of the BODS scripting language. It is very normal, as usual, what we are going to write it. It mainly consists of a functions, what we have in SAP BODS. We will see that how actually we are going to write the script and all and everything. So now this is the point we are going to see that. So we are going to consider two Excel sheets. One is having the plant information, other one is having the plant, like the plant name and the number of items, and like the item start number. So we have another Excel sheet where it has information regarding the plant item description. It will have a detailed information regarding the like the item, like item number, item description, etc., etc. And during this two achievement, so we are going to define a three global variables, and so the @plant, @item start number, @item count. These are all the different the global variables that I'm going to define. As for the objects are considered anyway, like we are going to use the data flows, and we are going to introduce a script object. Within the script object, you will see that how actually just the gist of a BODS scripting language we are going to define. So, but we have one more the dedicated section for that BODS scripting language, because we are focusing on each and every topic on the respective transformation. So I'm taking this particular example. Now, so we are able to log in into the server. So now we will try to log into the designer, data services designer. And yeah, so let's give the username and password here. So I just enter the password. So it will select what are all the local repositories that I have. So it will ask me to select the one of the local repository. So what I have, BODS. So just enter the password for the profiler. So will see like why it is again asking for the password. It is asking 2 times password, but normally in your case it won't ask you anything, or it may ask only 1 time. It's all optional. But why it is asking for the second time, that we will see, not a problem. So we would just remove the 6 a.m. IST batch. So okay. Now, as usual, we are going to define a batch. So JB underscore Rogen 6 a.m. IST. So I am going to define a data flow directly. I'm not concentrating here. Yeah, Chandra. No, I didn't do the upload. I have some problem while doing an upload. I will do it. Okay, not a problem. And so data flow Rogen. Okay, let's not go to the Rogen here because we have a specific the informative based the Excel sheets we have. So let's concentrate on the plant. Okay, so DF the plant information we have, the plant info. Okay, so let's have an Excel sheets. So don't expect a large volume of data. I'm just mentioning very few here. Right. So this is the plant data we have. See here, we have something called as plant, number of items in the plant. The plant is a P1, plant name, and number of items in the plant are the 1000. I mean, say item number start with the code I'm referring to 1000. Like that, it will have 1001, 1002, 1003, something like that. That is the number of items we have. Similarly, the plant P2, similarly plant P3. So these are all the different plants we have, and with very high level information, this particular the Excel sheet will provide us the information regarding the respective plants. So once this is completed, so we have one more Excel sheet where it has a complete picture of what is an item number here, and so what is the description of it. What is my idea here? So I have that runtime. I am going to pick either P1 or P2 or P3, and depends upon if I have selected P3, then what it is going to do, it is going to identify what is the start number, what is an item number starts here. It is a 1009, right? So 1009, 1010 or 11, it will take up those three values and it will look up in this what do you call as in this particular item description table. Then it will get the respective description of an item for that particular plant. So that is the aim of this particular job altogether. Okay. So now, so we will, as usual, so we will try to first create a file format for both the files. So we are using an Excel workbook. That's the reason why I'm just trying to create an Excel the file format here. I think you already have it, so I will create a version V1. So select folder where I have in the self project I have all these files. We have a select file here. We have all, because these are all the micro, like the macro enabled, so that's the reason why. So in all files only those will be shown. Okay. What it is saying? Yeah, worksheet. I have given a worksheet, right? So what is worksheet here? See here, row generation plant data. That is the sheet name they have given. So here, so what is the value that I would like to give here? I would like to give an integer value. Already used definition. Okay, that's not a problem. V2. So within the data flow, just simply drag and drop like this. This is the information we have. Now, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to load it into the target system. I mean to the staging first. As usual. So now the plant info app loaded into the target system. Once that is completed, I am defining one more data flow, because whatever the data flow that I have mentioned here, so that data flow will take care of loading the data into the loading the plan information into the staging table. Now we have simply executed the job. So it will like load the three records here. So now I will try to make it as a permanent table. That's the reason why I have just did a right click and did an import table. Once that process is completed, actually, so we have one more data flow as usual that I'm going to create here. The one more data flow, what I'm going to do here, df underscore the client item information. Okay, let's have a connectivity between these two, like this. And let's create another the file format for another Excel sheet. If what we have here, yeah, the client item P2. The definition as usual, self project, select file, here select all files here and select the respective. Now I'm interested in the plant information. So the worksheet name, is row generation item data, the worksheet name, import the schema. That's it. It is an item number, return OK. So I have imported the metadata here by defining the file format for my what do you call as the item information. You can preview the data. This is the data we have. And now, so we have the query transformation here. Item number and item description. Now again, I will be loading this information also into the staging. So the plant underscore item. I'm trying to execute the job. But before executing the job, the first one, because we already did a run, So because we didn't define any primary keys here, so normally what actually I'm going to do is I'm going to make it like delete data before loading. Every time I want to make it like fresh. That's the reason why I've just saved it. And I've just checked the checkbox for delete data before loading. Because what actually happens here is in BODS by default, so if we have 3 records, if I didn't tell delete the data before loading, if I run the job again, the same 3 records will get accumulated. So that is the basic the problem here. Because we didn't define any primary key. If we would have defined a primary key, then if primary key will be taken care here, the primary key violation error will be thrown. But here, what we did actually, I have defined just a loaded into a staging, and I don't have any primary key. So that's the reason why. So because and also these data may change depends upon the requirements, right? That's the reason why I'm just doing a full load every time. That's the only reason. So whenever we are going to execute this particular job, this should be full load, and this is also should be full load. Because these two are the information that will be updated by the users. There can be more plans in the Excel sheet one. There can be more items that can get added. There can be a lot of descriptions may change. Because in order to facilitate all, if we do a full load, it won't create any particular problem. That's the reason why I just did an import table. Now, whatever the information we have, like plant information, plant item information, everything I have loaded into the staging, and the data is available in our SQL server. So this part is, I think, the clear for you guys most of the time. So why we are doing into a table and all, that we will see, because we are trying to define a global variable, and we are trying to, communicate with these tables. So that's the reason why. So we are loading the data into a staging into our database where we have a control. Then after that, like how to look up into one table into another. So how to extract or select the records from the respective table and all that we will take care. So are you following me on this? Like why we have created 2 data flows and why there is a dependency between these two? Guys, so please observe, because this is the first part of this entire the mapping logic. Getting my point? What I mean to say here? If you have any questions, please ask me, because so I'm going to proceed with the next. When I say next, so now we will be slowly defining the global variables, and I will be defining the script object on our level. So do you have any questions, guys? So are you following me on this? So how we have done that? What is the primary motive of defining these 2 data flows, and why we are trying to make it like the permanent table? So why we are making like full load every time rather than the delta for these two? So do you have the idea on that? So are you following me, guys? If you're following, please say yes in the chat. So that will I will consider the signal and proceed further. Okay, guys. So what about Don, Mike? I didn't receive response from them for following. Karen. Okay. So that means the Karen is not following that, right? Is it true, Karen? Oh, I think the Karen is not there. So what I'm saying is you are not following anything. So because you didn't respond in the chat. That's what I'm saying. So what I mean to say here is, so did you get like what we are trying to achieve here? Why we have defined 2 data flows? So why we are doing a full load and all and everything? That's what I'm asking, Karen. Okay, thank you.
Can you brief it once?
Yes, please.
Just once.
Sorry?
Can you just briefly say once again, we are populating into two tables and we'll be using one global variable for these two.
Yeah, that we will see that in the next script object we will be defining. Okay, not a problem.
Okay.
But till now, what we did is clear, right?
Yeah, till now it is clear.
Okay, great. So now I'm introducing a script object. The script object within the BODS is very important. See here in the tool palette we have something called the script object. Simply drag and drop. And you can say you can name it like script. Connected. Double click on the script. So this is a place actually you are going to control your BODS job. This is a very important. So if you know how to handle this script object, if you know the features of the script object, what are all the properties that you can include in the script object, you can assume that you are, you can handle the complex, what you call as BODS jobs in general in your career. So that's the reason why it is very important to have a script object. So why we need to have a script object is in order to control your BODS job, in order to look up into another table, in order to select or update or delete or truncate any particular table, any database table from here, you can do that. So all these things are very much important. You can call built-in functions. You can call the custom function. So whatnot, you can do everything in the script object. The script object is very important. So within the script object, we have to write a scripting language. When I say scripting language, it is not like C++ or like the Java or whatever it is. So it is like the standard functions what we are going to use it, but with one or two minor changes. That's it. So don't worry about that. In today's session, just try to focus on how we have written. That's it. But don't worry about if you don't understand also, that is fine, because we have a separate section for the script object. So now I already have a script object as I mentioned previously. So now I told you that so we have to define 3 global variables. So go to the job, select the job, go to the tools. In the variables we have something called as global variable, and this is called as a local variable. We will see later on where actually the local variables are will be used, but for now I am going to define a 3 global variables. Okay, but before that I already have the script that I already written here. So this is a script actually. Okay. This is a script. So what we are trying to do and all and everything that we will see here. Okay, I am defining 3 global variables here. P1, and this would be a varchar of 4. That is one global variable. I am defining one more global variable. So that will be something like $G1. It would be an integer. It would be something like one more $G2 integer. So I have defined 3 global variables here. I have defined 3 global variables here. See here.
Hi Venkat, I have a question.
Venkat, yes, I have a question.
Yeah, yes, what is the use of creating 3 variables? What factor is deciding how many variables to be created?
Great. The factor here why I have created 3 global variables here is, as the customer said, I mean to say, as the BOD's design says that, BOD's job design says that, at runtime, I have to pass some value, maybe P1 or P2 or P3. Whatever the value that I have selected at runtime, that value should be passed into the respective table or respective data flow. Then it has to populate only the respective items. So getting my point? With that, you are clear that you need a plant variable. Am I getting you are getting my point for that particular purpose? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The second thing. So customer also says that on the fly, let us take an example that so we have an Excel sheet, right? So in the Excel sheet, as I mentioned previously, on the fly, what I'm going to do on the fly, I will say P1. Okay. So what actually it has to do? The P1, for the P1 actually, whatever the value that I have given, the BODS has to look in this particular table, because we already loaded this data into the staging, right? The BODS has to look in this respective staging table, P1, for the value P1, because we have entered P1, right? It has to look up into the table, then it has to pick two values. What are those? Number of items and item start number. So why we require these two? Because ultimately what is your goal? Your goal is to pass these two values to the row generation transformation. You know that, right? So what is the row generation transformation? The row generation transformation, the mandatory parameters are 4 and 1000. I mean to say the start number and the start count. You can make it everything is hard coded. But you will get only one plant information. Because I am automating with my respective plant at runtime, sometimes I may select P1, sometimes I may select P2, sometimes I may select P3, I may enter P3, I may pass P3, P2, P1 to the job. Then depends upon the value that I am going to pass, it has to take up either 2 or it has to take up either 4 and the respective values. So getting my point, what I mean to say here, because mine is a variable. I mean to say I may select P1, P2 at runtime. Depends upon my selection. My BODS also should pick what is the number of items and item number starts. Getting my point, what I mean to say here, Jay? So once we start doing the design, you will slowly understand, like in real time also, initially maybe you may start with 1 or 2 variables, but will starting towards, you will end up with the more number of variables. That it comes out of the experience also, as you know that, right, with other softwares.
So is it something like that?
Yeah.
One will be primary variable and other will be the reference to
there is no specific definition within the BODS where it says that it is a primary or both and remaining are the secondary. But yeah, internally maybe you can decide. I mean, maybe you can classify it. Okay. But there is no specific rule that to define the primary like the global variable and the secondary global variable. Okay. Yes, Mike. I'm about to tell you the same. The global variable always in the start with dollar symbol. So that is very important point you have to consider. Okay, the global variable should start with the dollar symbol. It is mandatory. And sometimes in all the projects in real time, even it should start with the $G. It is very important. Something like $G, something like $G1, $G2, so that we have to see. Okay, so
You're
Okay.
breaking up, Venkat.
Now this is fine.
Yeah, now it's
Okay, that's fine. So, so in projects where so we have like a $G, we have something called as where we are using the global variables, you can pass a $G. In general, we can start our like discussion with the $G even. So that is what actually happens here. $G.
Yeah, Venkat, I have one question.
We can start with.
Venkat, I got another question. Generally for, hello? Yeah, generally
Yes,
for the
carry on.
variables, in real time we consider the data type as character, or we generally take the variable for the dimensions, like characteristic of master data. And for the measure, we don't create as a variable. So here we can see that you are creating the variable for measure as well and declaring the data type as int.
Okay. Yeah. Why here the point here so measures are also different types. You know that, right? So there can be additive, there can be semi-additive, there can be fully additive, there can be non-additives. We have a lot of things out there in measures also. Okay. So what actually happens if I add the number start of an item? I won't get any knowledge out of it. Am I correct? In general. So here, like there are only two classifications, so you don't have to worry at all. So what is the value that you are expecting the global variable to give? That is the only thing. Getting my point, what I mean to say here? Whenever I say P1 is the varchar 4, what is my aim here? Because I'm passing some varchar, so my global variable also should return the varchar. And I have a $G1 and I have a $G2. Let us take an example. So these $G1 and $G2 as an integer. By mentioning that, whenever I enter any variable as a varchar, depends upon my selection.
Venkat, sorry, your voice was breaking. We cannot hear. Can you please repeat again?
I'm not speaking. Okay. Is this clear now?
Now it is clear, but
Or you still have a problem?
reconnect again.
When you start talking, then it breaks. From the beginning it is clear. Then after a second, then it starts breaking.
Okay. Now also it is breaking and speaking, right?
It's breaking.
Yes.
It's breaking.
Now it is good.
Only your initial two, three letters fine. Then it breaks.
Okay. 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 One second. One second. Just give me 1 minute, guys.
of.
So is the voice is clear now?
Yeah, good, Venkat.
Okay, even if I continuously talking also, this is fine?
Yes.
Okay, great. So yeah, so what we can do is, yeah, so I think it said you and Jane say that you are clear with your question, right?
Yeah, actually, Venkat, Raju was asking that why we cannot create the the variable as int data type. So my question was, when you stored the initial Excel file, right? You wrote P1, P2, P3. Then other two fields you have written as measure, right? So that I was thinking, if what is the use? I thought, okay, P1 the variable we are creating here, that is going to capture the values of plant, and a G1 and G2 that is going to do the multiplication of the two measures.
Right,
So
that can be
that was
tricky. There also you are doing, right. Why we are doing is we will see later on. While completion of this job, you will understand why I have defined the integer and all. Okay. So this is the script actually. Okay. So how many functions that I'm using here? I'm using SQL function. I'm using SQL function actually here. Okay. This is the syntax of the SQL. So what I'm trying to achieve here, what is the plant the stages? See here, this is what is your, so I will explain you, don't worry. So this is a DB and P1. and we have something called as plant info. See here, so we are trying to use a SQL function. The SQL function is an inbuilt function. So what actually the SQL function is expects. See here, if I just click on SQL function, it is giving a syntax of the SQL function, what SQL function should have. The syntax should be, we have to use a data store actually, okay. So what is the data store from which I have to get information? I have to pass the respective plant name whenever I am going to enter the plant name while running the job. So this is the data store name, like this, okay. That is completed. And next, what is the syntax? The syntax here, what we are going to write in the next, that is a SQL string. See here, this is where actually what you are going to write a SQL language. In the SQL language, if you are trying to select, you can select. You can try to delete, you can delete the delete statement here. If you are trying to truncate, you can truncate it. Or else if you are trying to update any particular values, you can do that. So all these things are very much possible here in the select statement. So that is what actually you have to understand here. That is one thing. Okay, and this is the basic, the syntax of it. See here. This is a basic syntax of the SQL. So whenever we have any equal, something like this, so we have to have something like forward slashes here. And this is a global variable, right? So the $P1, because whatever the value that I am selecting at run time, that value I am passing here. Then whenever it is passing, where the plant is P1 or P2 or P3, okay. So what actually happens? The respect to P1, item number starts will be saved in G1. Okay. So similarly, whenever I say P1 or P2, the number of items value will be stored in the $G2. And here I'm just printing the value. That's it. The number starts for the P1 is $G1. The number starts like $G2 is the P1 is G2. That's what I have mentioned here. So this is the syntax of it. The syntax here, whatever I am referring earlier, if you are doing any where clause, in the where clause, if you say that where the plant is equal to, then we have to use some forward slashes like this, and you have to use these braces. So these braces we have to use it because we are trying to pass the value to the global variable called $P1. So till now you are clear. At very high level also that is fine. So what I am trying to do here, I am trying to pass the plant information to this particular the SQL function, and it will select the item number starts and the value will get passed to the $G1 global variable. So similarly, whenever I say P1, P2, P3, the respective plant information, so number of items value will be passed to the $G2. I'm just printing the respective values here. That's it. It's very straightforward. Okay, so there is a so 4 or 5 examples are there. We will discuss while discussing regarding a script object. So you have to just practice it. That's it. It will be very simple. So
Venkat, can we pass multiple values into P1?
Multiple values into P1. Okay, great. But the point here is, if you even multiple like pass the multiple values to the P1, yes, we can have a multiple values to the P1, not a problem. But the problem here is, you have a knowledge of SQL?
Yes.
Okay, great. So can you write in the where clause where plant equal to?
You can use in, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, where? No, that is fine. No, that is fine. See, let me do. So where the plant is, we cannot write the multiple statements. As you mentioned, we can write a where plant in, something like maybe the P1, the P2, okay, something like that. We can write it. But the problem here is, even if I pass the values to this, which value it is going to consider? Getting my point, what I meant to say here? This is a variable, right? Any variable at a given point of time, how many values it can store? It can store only one value. Am I correct?
Only one value. Yes. Yes.
Okay. That was my question. So even if you pass like multiple values, like can the global variable G1?
No, we can. There is no meaning, right? Passing the multiple values, there is no meaning at all. That's what I'm saying. If it is considering only one value, then why we are passing the multiple values? Right? That's what my point here. If you are doing any updates, yes, what you said is absolutely right. Because for updates, we doesn't require this particular value, because I'm not going to store any particular value to this particular variable. That's what I'm saying. Getting my point? So if we are doing any updates, if we are doing any deletion, we can pass any number of values, not a problem.
So Venkat, the variable here, the value you are passing.
So you can say that the dollar P1, let me complete here. Where is P1?
We lost you again, Venkat.
No, I'm not speaking anything.
No, prior to that you were saying something, right? Okay, that's fine.
Okay, so okay. Okay. So
Venkat,
what we are discussing here?
Venkat got a question. Sorry.
Yeah.
Should I proceed?
Yeah. Carry on.
Yeah. I was asking, like, the script object we can use for any type of transformation in bots, or only for row generation?
Can you repeat once again, please?
No, my question is, the script object you are using here, we can use it for any kinds of transformation?
The script object is not dependent upon the transformation. Okay? So the script object is entirely different, where you want to communicate with the database, where you want to update or insert into the database, so where you want to print anything. So for all those scenarios you can use it. So the script object is not dependent on any transformation. So in short, to answer your question, yes, it can be used with any combination of transformations.
So when you say print, right, like, is it printing in the log?
Right, it is printing in the log, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so having this particular knowledge, now, so we have defined the script, we have defined the global variable, and we have written some scripting language. And now this is the time for us to use the row generation transformation. Now go to the transforms, go to the row generation transform and double click in the row generation transformation. So this is where I am referring to. Row generation transformation starts at 0 and you have to give a row count. Instead of giving 0 and 1, what I am going to do here, I am going to pass $G1 and $G2. And click on next. Now use the query transformation, connect row generation transformation with the query transformation, and the row generation transformation by default it is going to generate one column that is called as a DA underscore row ID, row underscore ID. That is the default column name it is going to generate. Simply drag and drop, and this is called as a item number. And what you need to have, you have an item number, that is fine, but I want to understand what I have selected, what plant name that I have selected at runtime. For that, right click here on that particular the column, click on new output column, insert below, and now I will say that the plant name. So as I mentioned previously, the plant name is varchar, and so as whatever I have selected, so that value should be passed here. So that's the reason $P1 in the mapping. Okay. So now define a template table to load into the target. Detailed item info. Now I am going to execute the job. Let us see. Save it. As I mentioned previously, we have to pass a global variable. See here, I am going to pass a global variable. In order to pass a global variable, what actually you have to do, right click, execute. In the global variable, in the execution options, we have the global variable window. In that you have to pass a value. So here you can pass P1 or P2 or P3 initially, but I will pass P1. Let us see what actually happens. Okay. See here, maybe the print is not clear, but let us see what we have in the target system. So we have P1 related item numbers. So what I will do is I will make it the print changed so that it will be very clear for you guys. Right, I will do concatenation. Into
Okay, is there a way to validate the script that that we write?
right, see here. Execute. This time I am passing like P2. Data flow 1 is successful and the data flow 2 is successful. Plant info is successful. Plant item is also successful. And the item number starts for plant P2 is 1005. The item number starts at P2 is the so like in print we have made it wrong actually. So here it is different. It's not an item number, the number of items actually. So the number of items. You can execute and see. This time you can have P3. Now I have something called as query, plant info, plant item, so row generation we have, something like that. If we go to the monitor here, you will understand. So P3, it will start with 1009, number of items is 2. The item starts at P3 is 1009 and number of items for P3 is 2. So that is what actually happens here. Now customer says that so we have P3 and the respective item number. But in addition to that, I also need to have an item description. So in order to get an item description, what we need to do? So we have to look up for the table. What is the table? The item table. In order to look up, so what I have to do first, I have to define a field that is called as an item description. Item description field is varchar, varchar 25, you can say that, varchar 25. Now, we can have a functions that can be called here. The functions are something like, in the mapping sheet, in the mapping tab, we have something called as function. See, mapping or query dot item description. So this is the query and this is an item description. In the functions, we need to have something called as a lookup function. Okay, we have three types of functions. Mainly in our normal projects, we are going to use lookup or lookup underscore extension. The basic difference between the lookup and lookup underscore extension is something like, so we are going to make only one field, you can look up one function. Whenever it is lookup underscore extension, if you are looking up more columns and if you are retrieving more columns, sorry.
Can you say that again? You're totally break up.
So here we are using a lookup and lookup underscore extension here. So we will see that later on regarding the lookup. I just click on the lookup. So what is your lookup table into which you want to look up the information? My lookup table would be that is exists in the target SQL server, and this is the information that I would like to look up. And what is the result column out of it? This is the description column. And the default value, if they didn't they provided anything, then you can have the default value would be something like the question mark. And we have three types of options here: no catch, preload catch, and a demand load catch. So we can have something like no catch also you can select. And to which you have to compare. So what is the compare column? I have to compare with an item number. And what is your expression? So to where or from where actually you have to the compare. So whatever the value that I have in the row generation, especially in the DA underscore row ID, so that value should be equal to this particular item number, and I have to finally get a description field. So I just click on finish. This is what actually the syntax of the lookup. Okay. So even you can use the lookup underscore lookup underscore extension also. Now I'm going to execute the job, and again I'm going to pass the value called the P2 and click on OK. So let us see for the P2. Then the item number start for P2 is 1005. Number of items that are manufactured in plant P2 are 4, where the item, the code, item number for the 4 item number that got manufactured in plant P2 should start with 1005. That is the table will tells you the information. So now go to the target. Now you can say that this is the information. So jean shirts, leather jackets, laptop, and flashcards, and etc. So this time, if you want to run the job, you can run the job again, and you can pass either the P2 information, or maybe you can pass the PC information. So either one is possible. So just please pass the information. So again, execute it, execute the job, and you are going, whenever you are going to execute the job, so please pass this time maybe P1. I'm going to pass P1. So now click on OK. So now I have simply started. So first one is completed, the plant data flow, and the item data flow is also completed. It says that we have a like item number starts with 1000, and the number of items for P1 is 4. So I'm passing these to 1000 and 4. Where actually I'm passing? I'm passing in the row generation transformation here in the $G1 or $G2. And that row generation transformation will generate these row numbers, and with the help of a lookup, we are going to look up these item number values in the lookup table. What is the lookup table? This is what your lookup table. In this lookup table, we are trying to look up the respective item numbers, and we are trying to get the respective descriptions. So that is an end-to-end, the flow, how actually and what actually we are trying to do with the help of this particular the row generation transformation. Here the role of a row generation transformation is to generate the item numbers, and that item numbers are being looked into the item description table with the help of a lookup table. So finally, so what we have used here, what are the different the objects or different variables we have used it? We have used in this particular job, so we have used actually the 3 data flows. So the first data flow would be, that is like the plant data flow. And so we have something like an item data flow, and we have the third one, that is called as a row generation, row underscore gen underscore num data flow. That is what we have discussed. These 3 data flows we have. And once that is completed, so we have something called as 3 global variables we have defined here. Three global variables. And so also we have discussed the something like the script object and the script language we have discussed. Once that is completed, so we have given something called as built-in functions. Built-in functions, like what are the built-in functions we have used? We have used the SQL function, and also we have used the lookup function. They're all the functions given by the BODS itself. And yeah, so after that, obviously you know that. So we have used the row generation transformation, and we have passed the global variables for the row generation transformation. The key, the important point in the entire job here is to pass the global variables. We can achieve the same, the scenario, we can achieve the same, but so we will miss the dynamic action of at runtime. So at any time we can have a P1 and P2 and P3 selection. Either one I can do like 1000. I can also say that it is 4. But irrespective of the plan P1 or P2 or P3, these are all not same, right? These will changes depends upon your selection. So that's the reason why whatever the selection that you have, so that we need to have global variables have to be defined. I'm not saying anything. So if you have any questions, you can repeat. You can ask me now because we have completed, the row generation transformation.
Can you go to log, Venkat? So basically, based on this row generation, it is supposed to create like 4 rows on the. Hello?
Yes, please.
Yeah, Venkat, like based on this row generation, right? So how many rows it will be generating?
It all depends, right? So see, whatever the global variable that you have passed, it all
4.
depends upon that.
So right now, it should be creating like 4 rows. Is that right?
Right. It is generating 4 rows with respect to that the start value would be 1000.
1000. Okay. And also like in the lookup, right? Like you have showed us like some options there. So lookup and lookup extension. And can you just like briefly go through those ones? And also like in the lookup again, you said like no cache or something like that.
That we will see that in the lookup for the section of it.
Okay, sure.
But my idea would be to explain you like as a whole, as a overall. Did you understand the row generation transformation? That is what my point. That's it.
Okay.
Okay. But yeah, so I will repeat once again the lookup, not a problem.
No,
It is
lookup
bit
is
tricky.
fine. Yeah, lookup is
Lookup
fine.
is fine.
I mean like
That
why
is
they have choose
fine.
lookup?
Okay. Okay. So other guys, where to use the row generation transformation? So very good point you have raised. The row generation transformation is used, Chandra, where we have to generate the integer values first. If you see here in our example, the row generation transformation where we have used to populate to to generate an integer values. Okay, the row generation transformation here generally what happens if we have used row generation transformation, the JB underscore maybe the sample row gen. So what actually it will do is, so use the row generation transformation, simply drag and drop the row generation transformation, and now so what actually it is going to do here is DA underscore row underscore right load it into the target.
So Venkat, this row generation, will it be used for the delta mechanism or what is the purpose of that?
Yeah, if you observe what I did here, actually the start would be 1000 and it has to continue for 5, right? So that's where actually it is generating the row generation transformation. Generally the row generation transformation will be used while loading into an IDOC. That is one the scenario. And the second one is, like while identifying the number of files in any particular folder, the usage is very limited. I'm not saying that it's very regularly used, but the main motto of the row generation transformation is to generate the integer value. Okay, wherever you need to have a generation of an integer value, either you can use row generation transformation or else you can use one more function called row gen num. Okay, gen row num, that is one more function is also there. We'll see that whenever we are going to discuss regarding the conditional operator, conditional clause or everything within the BODs.
So Venkat, this is not an auto number, right?
This is not an auto number. When I say auto number, whatever the input that you are going to give it, depends upon that it is going to generate.
Yeah.
Normally, whatever an example that I have shown you, there are no any real examples that will be there in the industry with specific row generation transformation. Very rarely we are going to make use of this row generation transformation is considered. We will use, in order to generate these integer values, we are going to generate a function called gen row num that we will see whenever we will discuss regarding the conditional clause or conditional operator, if else clause we have. So whenever we are going to discuss, we will see that.
Venkat, one
yes,
question.
please.
Yeah. So when we use like a parallel mechanism on this one, right? Row generation. So like when we are giving what is that? When we are giving like 5-way of parallelism or like 10-way of parallelism, if there are like more bunch like thousands of records are generating at this point. So how to get it in a sequential order? So is there something like inside the row gen we can tweak it?
Can you repeat once again if you don't mind?
Yeah. So right now I say the row ID is like in the sequential order, the output, right? 0, 1, 1000, 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004. It has generated one after the other, correct?
Right.
Yeah. So when we are doing it in the parallel mechanism, like we have given like run this job in parallel 5-way of 5 nodes, so like I don't know what you call here. 5-way of like parallelism is running on this job, let's say for example. So is there any mechanism like which we can make it like sequential order? So how does it works in the parallelism? That's my question basically.
There is no, like difference in how it is running. So when you say parallelism,
Yeah.
so you have to only understand that the parallelism is between the data flows. If you see here, if you go to the run, see here, I'm saying that these data flows are in sequence. Get it? My point?
You are breaking up, Venkat. Not able to hear. Today it's very bad actually.
Okay, so what you're saying here is, so whenever I say like the parallel execution, you have to concentrate only on the data flow level. Okay, that's it. So data flow is executing in sequence now. Okay, so getting my point? The plant info, plant item, that's it, something like that. Even if it is running in the parallel also, so the row generation transformation will run as it is, as per the requirement within this particular data flow. Getting my point? What I meant to say here?
So this like DF row gen, will it run like in the parallel nodes?
Yeah. Anyway, see what I'm not sure what like your definition for the parallel loads or not. But in BODS, the parallel loads means if I have removed this connection, something like this. Okay, this is the connection, and I have. Yes, if I execute this particular job, I can say that these three are in parallel execution. Getting my point? What I mean to say?
Yeah, but that was not my question. So, is there a way like where we can execute like parallelism, like how do you?
We can do that. We can do that. Not a problem in that. There is no, like if I remove this script, we can directly execute. If you execute it, automatically everything will be executed. Something like that.
Not that way, Venkat. For like to improve the performance. So, will it be? Can this job can be run in the parallelism?
When you say parallelism,
Yeah.
I'm running this job in parallel. That is one thing. And second thing is, when I say parallelism, there are like a lot of definitions are there in the parallelism. See, let us take an example that we have, if you go to the properties of a data flow, properties, okay, so here we have something called a degree of parallelism. Okay,
Yeah.
getting my point?
This is what I was asking. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is not that important, and I didn't use very much in my entire career. Okay. It all depends upon the project to project, but it's not that important, and it is not at all required for us to use it here. Okay. So when I say parallelism, so there is it's a very wide word of parallelism. So parallelism can be a lot more. So parallelism can be execution of your process, execution of your jobs in parallel, execution of your data flows in parallel, execution of your services in parallel. So releasing of your the process threads in parallel. There are like a lot more things are there. In especially in SAP BODS we have a lot more.
So if you want to trigger a particular data flow inside a job, let us say in this case, this job has 3 data flow. I want to trigger only one, let us say plant item, that data flow.
Okay, so if you want to trigger only one, just keep only one.
Yes. No.
Just remove rest of these two. Just remove rest of these two.
So is there not any way that I can only trigger one? Because if the job is in the production and it demands to run only one data flow.
Okay.
Like Venkat, I'm trying to compare the BW process chain, so we can run a particular piece of process chain.
Okay, I understand. I understand your point completely. In a process chain, you want to run only one particular info package. Maybe that's what you are trying to refer to. Right. We can achieve whatever you can do it, but not completely in SAP BODS. I mean, this is the way it is using is the way that it functions is very, very different when compared to an SAP BW. Okay, there are like a lot more things the BW cannot do where BODS can do. There are some processes where the BODS cannot do and BW can do. So my request would be don't compare. If you compare, you will get a lot of questions, and if you compare, you will get a lot of queries. Okay. So 1 second. Okay. Yeah, when I say piece, yes, we can do that. Not a problem at all. Okay, but the problem here is we have to do some logic. So we have to like some if else clause and all and everything. But by default, it is not possible. Okay, we can achieve whatever we can achieve in SAP BW, we can also achieve in SAP BODS. But the problem here is we have to customize it. So, but it's not possible by default. That's what I'm trying to refer here. Okay. So, yes, Chandra. So we can use it for a unique ID for inserting the records. Yes, it is a unique. Yes. So, do you have any questions, Dawn, Karen? So did you understand what I'm trying to refer in today's session regarding the row generation transmission? Chandra, Dawn? You guys are getting? Dawn, Karen, you there guys? Mike? What about Dawn?
Venkat, if you have 1 minute, like, can you explain this one? You said like on the lookups, it is something like tricky, right? Can you just like go through that?
Sure. So when I say tricky, the way like you are going to identify. So you are very much clear on the lookup table. So what you have to look up. So that is fine. Okay, the lookup table, what you want to look up into the plant item, that is fine. What you want to get out of it is a description. That is also fine. But if you are not getting anything, then what is the default value? That is what here I am trying to refer. You can have anything. You can say that invalid or valid. You can have any particular string. You can have anything. And similarly, we have cache. Cache means whenever you are going to look up, whether you want to have any particular, the BODS will have some cache, right? If you want to load the lookup table initially into the cache, then you have to compare your saying to the BODS. So how you want to achieve, whether you want to no cache, pre-code cache or demand load cache. If required, take it the cache, or otherwise yes, preload the table into the cache, then compare it. Otherwise no cache. I don't require any cache because it's very simple table, something like that. These are the three options we have. And now in the compare column, in general, what you want to compare, because till now I have just mentioned what is my result column. But I have to compare with an item number. So now, but you have to compare with an item number, but with which you have to compare. That's what in the expression says that. So a lot of people will get confused with these two, compare column or the expression. It is very important. If you didn't understand, you can always go through the below description of each and every compare column. Similarly, we have something called an expression. The column in the lookup table which is compared with an expression. So we have to see that this is an item number that you want to compare from the plant item, but to which you have to compare. So that is very important here. So to which you have to compare, I have to compare with the The values, those are all generated by the row generation. So that's the reason why where I have to look in, I have to look in the current schema. That is very important. Current schema means what in which I'm trying to like the map, that is part of the current schema. In the current schema, DA underscore row underscore ID. So that is the basic, the tricky part that I'm trying to referring to actually. That's the only thing.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. So if anything got changed in the mapping, okay, if anything got, like if any function is used, normally, see here, you will see that the triangle symbol, that it says that you have changed something, you have used some function for this particular column in the mapping sheet. That is the example, okay. By seeing this particular, the query schema itself, you would be able to understand what you have changed it.
So let's say from the same table we are trying to bring two columns. So do we have to map it the same way for the plant name also? Let's say for example there is one more field below. So do you have
can you repeat? I hardly understand. I mean, because the voice is very low.
Sure. How about now?
No. I request you to a bit more loud.
Is it clear now?
Yeah, but yeah, somewhat. Yeah, carry on, please.
If there are like two fields, so do we have to map the same way for each and every field, or is there a way like it one shot we can get two or more?
Right. If that is a requirement, I mean to say, if you want to get two fields from the lookup table, okay. Right now you are taking only item description from the lookup table. If you want to get one or more, then go for the lookup underscore extension. Getting my point?
Okay, now I got it.
Yeah, so let us take an example that go to the functions, go to the lookup underscore extension. In the lookup underscore extension, so you can have it. So what is the lookup? What is the this is the table. And so what is the column in the lookup table? Item number is the lookup table. Okay. So but what is an expression against which you want to compare? So against which what I have to compare? I have to compare against which the data in the row generation, DA underscore row ID. So where this item number equal to this. Okay. I can have a multiple conditions also I can give it. And what is an output? I'm expecting description. If you are expecting one more also, you can always drag and drop. Getting my point? What I mean to say here? Any number of columns, if you are getting out of it, you can have it. And similarly, you can have any number of conditions also, you can write it. Getting my point? We can do an order by. If you are getting any, any duplicate lookup values you have, any more than one value, out of that you can have a max or min, you can take up. So similarly, if you are not satisfied at all with your lookup and all, you can always go back to the custom SQL. You can write a custom SQL and you can get it somewhere else. Getting my point? So in fact, so rather than if it is very simple requirement, go for the lookup. Otherwise, if you feel that so I have to do a lot more in general, so you will you can use the lookup underscore extension. Okay.
Yeah. What is the other one underscore sequence you have?
Lookup underscore sequence, frankly speaking, I have used only one time in my entire career. But that particular one will be used if your lookup table itself is following a slowly changing dimension. I mean to say, if it is having something called as the slowly changing dimension 2. We will see that what is the slowly changing dimension, how we can achieve it. But in a slowly changing dimension, if the source as a lookup table itself is a slowly changing dimension 2, we have to follow the lookup underscore sequence. Okay. So that is not very important, because the industry in general, we will use lookup and the lookup underscore sequence very frequently. If we have a project, lookup and lookup underscore extension. So these two are very, very frequently used. You cannot imagine a project without using these two, because you always will have a lookup, right? in general. So obviously you are going to use it. Okay. So do you have any questions still?
Yeah, one question. So there
Yes,
is
please.
like no cache and pre-cache, right? So when we are using like a preloaded cache, so we are loading into a cache memory, and we are that's like internal RAM memory, right? So we are bringing it from there. When we say like no cache, so where it's gonna do the lookup? Is it doing on database level or getting the data into the what do you say, BODS, and doing the join?
Right. Whenever you say like no cache, yes, it will check up. It will hit the database. Then it will compare.
So the join is happening at the database level. Is that right?
Right.
Okay.
Any questions, guys?
One last question, Venkat. So, hello?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So for these three cache options, in which scenario we'll be using which cache? Can you just like go through that?
So yeah, so normally, like if it is very small, normally you will use no cache, So, like sometimes if it is very large, you will use the preload cache. In general, the lookup tables, like would be, the lookup table would be very small. So if we have any specific values you want to have, if you have any the specific descriptions you want to have, in that the scenarios normally you will go to the lookup table. So here, so as I mentioned previously, if it is a very small table, even if it is a bit moderate table also, you can go for the no cache and the preload cache. You don't see very much difference between those two unless it is very huge in number. If it is a very no cache or preload cache, because like the communication to the database and the BODS is in the nanoseconds. Okay, so you cannot see a much difference more than like maybe 10 seconds or 15 seconds in time sometimes. Okay, so you don't have to worry actually, frankly speaking, whether it is a preload or whether it is the no cache.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions, guys? So I thought of complete one more transformation SQL, but like all our time has gone to a row generation transformation. That is fine. So tomorrow we will see like SQL, and we will try to like finish one more transformation. I mean to say the two transformations, and we will proceed from there.